Hi everyone, I'm the plant propagator and welcome to my channel. Today I'm in a laboratory in Southwest Florida, and what I wanted to share with you is all the various stages of seed germination, seedling development in flasks. So the laboratory is getting pretty full of flasks and seeds and all this stuff, and it's a kind of a unique time because I have a whole range of seed development items that I can show you, that I can share with you. So what I want to do is show you orchid seeds as they're initially plated, and then I want to show you how those the embryos within the seeds develop and grow into the seedlings in flasks. I'm not going to share any deflasking with you today. I've done that with you previously. I'll do that with you in the future. I'm not going to show you the seed sterilization process, again, done in the past. I'll continue to share some with you because what I've done recently is I've been able to modify my my seed and pod sterilization procedure in order to get the seeds in flasks. So I just wanted to do this again. I have everything here. It's really interesting when you look at the orchid seeds and how small they are, how clear the embryos are in the seed if you know what you're looking for. I'll also share with you some issues that I'm having that I assume everyone has with the seeds that you plate, that you flask from these orchid seed capsules. I've got the list of things here. I'm going to be looking at things underneath my dissecting microscope, and then what I'll do at the various stages of the process is show you what these images of these various seeds as they're developing look like until these seedlings get too big, and then of course I don't have to use a scope anymore. Okay, the first thing I want to do is just show you what a freshly plated orchid seeds look like, and I've got the first one that I want to share with you is are some cymbidium seeds, and these were provided to me from Tristan. So Tristan, if you're watching, thanks. These are your seeds, and I just want to describe what the orchid seeds look like and what the embryos within the seeds look like. So the orchid seeds themselves, as you can tell from this image, they're long and thin. These are cymbidium seeds. These are pretty big seeds for orchids, at least from what I've looked at. And the embryos are the round structures that are right in the middle of these seeds. So you've got a long seed, and then you've got the round embryos that are in the middle of the seed. And these were plated. These were plated just like 4 or 5 days ago. So this happens to be from some mature seed that was stored, I think, for about a year. So these embryos are white. There's no pigment, there's no chlorophyll in these things, and they've just been plated a short time ago. I'll show you how these change then over time. But what you can see in this image is you can see a lot of seeds, and pretty much all of the seeds that you see have the embryos that are inside of them. So this was a really good seed capsule because there are so many embryos there, and they're in each seed. Okay, I then want to show you the next one I'm moving on to. This is one of my hybrids, one of my new hybrids, and this was plated. I gotta look, same thing, about 4 days ago, and these were also from a not quite mature seeds capsule, but these were stored also in the refrigerator long term. And what you can see from here, so I did a purification of the seeds where the seeds that have the embryos tend to sink when I'm sterilizing them in Clorox. So those seeds sunk to the bottom of the tube, and there was a lot of seed that was on top, and those I discarded. And this is pretty typical in a lot of the seed physiology and seed science area it's not always the case, but in many cases the viable seeds are denser, the ones with the embryos, and they'll sink. So I did an experiment before I did this where I evaluated floaters and sinkers, and the sinkers had a lot of embryos in them, and that's what happened here. But the problem was I had to get rid of 95% or more of the seeds from this capsule. But what's left here is, it looks pretty good. They're a little bit smaller than the Cymbidium seed, and a lot of them, I think probably all of them, also contain embryos. But they're a lot less dense because I had to toss a lot of them. Okay, so, but you can still see the embryos in here because they were stored. They're white and they haven't greened up yet, but it hasn't been very long. The last freshly plated seed that I like to share with you is, again, another one of my crosses, and this is not a good result. And I plated a lot of this seed, and if you look at this image, what you should be able to see or not see is embryos. So this was a capsule that yellowed a little bit prematurely, and it wasn't a good sign. So the capsule, it was a Cattleya cross, and the capsule matured after, it didn't mature, it split, it yellowed after 4 months. And usually with Cattleyas, depending on the type, you have to go 5, 6, 7 months. You have to go a bit longer. And what happened here, and this is unfortunate for me because I waited 4 months to get nothing, but these seed, and there are a lot of seed, it was loaded with seed, it was dried, it looked good. I couldn't really tell what was going on until I put it underneath the scope. But the seed are empty of embryos, and so this is just not a good sign. It's not a good thing. Okay, so and you get this, and you get everything in between. You get things that are where you get, embryos in every seed, to just a few embryos, to no embryos, to 50%, a lot of different things. So this is what you get, and it's disappointing. But even though you make a cross, you get a capsule, you think it's good, it's not always good for various reasons. Don't ask me why, because I don't know. If I knew, yay, I'd be special. Anyway, I don't know, but for some reason they don't work. Okay, the next plate that I'd like to show you, or the contents of the plate that I'd like to show you, are from one of my crosses, and these were plated. These were plated a month ago. And what you can see in here is you can see a real range of things. The main thing is you can see a lot of the embryos that are there, well, all of the embryos that are there have turned green. All right, so they're bright green and they've enlarged a lot. Again, it's been a month on this. Some of these embryos have enlarged quite a bit, and whether that's the huge one, whether it's good or bad, I don't know. A lot of times what you have is this just mass of dividing cells that and I don't like that. That may not be good. But in many cases you have some of these that will form, and let me look to see, yeah, there's some of these that are actually forming after a month. You're starting to see leaf formation, and that's good. The other thing to see in this plate is that you can still see remnants of seed that didn't have embryos in there. So again, in this, and luckily I made a lot of plates of this, one of my crosses that I'm pretty excited about. But this one has just a real range of things. There's some good embryos. There's some fast growing embryos that are giving me, leaf formation after a month. And then there are some that are slower, where the embryos have just turned green, everything in between. And then there's some of the seeds where there is essentially no embryo. So no embryo, no germination. But I got so many seed in here that I'm going to be loaded from this cross. Okay, the next one that I want to show you is a why not self. So all the seedlings in this plate will also be called why not. It's a yellow why not. And this is about, I think it's about 6 weeks after seed plating. But what you can see in here is, again, most of the embryos are forming the large structures. They've swelled and they're forming these structures called protocorms. And the protocorms are actually the round base from the previous one that I showed you with leaves coming out of them, and those are these protocorms that are forming these leaves, and that is the name of the structure that's formed. This is not typical of what you see with a dicotyledonous embryo that is germinating, where you've got a stem and the two cotyledons and then the shoots and then the roots. This is orchid, and this is different. So these are protocorms, where you have the protocorm, you have the base, and then you have the leaf that's forming out of the top of it, and then you'll get roots form out of the base of the protocorm. All right, so it's a little bit of a different process. Anyway, with this why not self, you can see, and again, this is not very old, but these were fresh seed, and these responded very quickly. And I got a gazillion of these. I don't think I need them, but I got a lot of them. But what you can see on many of these is really nice leaf formation. All right, so it's gone from the seeds. You've got the seeds turn green, they swell, they form these protocorms, and now leaves are starting to grow from that. Some of these, they may or may not be ready to replate, but it shows you the overall process. Some of the embryos are still pretty small, and some of the embryos, though, are, like I said, are big, and they have leaves. Now the question is, what do you take out of here? I tend to pick, when I'm doing this, I tend to pick the vigorous growers. I know some people go, oh no, you got to save them all, which I just can't do. I look for the ones that are in here that have the big leaves that are saying, pick me, and I pick them. So I usually select the really vigorous growing plants in the flasks. Other people say, oh, you get the greatest blooms from the slow ones. I don't know, but you have to pick the vigorous growers, and unless I hardly have any, and then I pick a lot. All right, so again, that's about 6 weeks. The next thing that I'd like to share with you is, looks like this is 8 weeks, so a couple weeks older. This is a cross from Bill, and this is a Maikai. It's a progeny cross of a Maikai. So I'm pretty excited about this, and I got a lot of really, so this is really high frequency. You can still see some residual non-embryo containing seeds in here, but there are a lot of really nice looking protocorms with leaves growing out of them. And what I do, and what I've done with this plate, and this is the last one that really I can show an image from underneath this microscope. But these are large protocorms, but 2 months. And I should also say that the development time varies depending on your seed source and the specific orchid. But in 2 months, what I get from this is really nice protocorm formation and leaf development. And so what I'll do after once, and it's not always a question of the timing. So it's not like 2 months, this is what you do with all of them. You look and you listen to what the seedlings are telling you. So if this takes 4 months or 5 months, I've got some really slow growing natives and terrestrials in the laboratory. If they take longer, you got to listen to what they say. It's not always a question of timing. It's a question of the physiological state of these seedlings that will dictate when these need to be transferred. This though has been not quite 2 months, a few days shy of 2 months, but these guys are big, and I've actually already transferred some of these to a replate medium. So these are all on my orchid seed germination medium here, and then I transfer these onto a replate medium. And what I do, so I do 2 different replates. So I'll replate onto the one medium where I will take these larger protocorms with leaves and I will make a 5x5 grid, just because I like this amount of seedlings in dishes, and as I move these seedlings through the system, it just works out best. So I make a 5x5 grid, maybe add a few more on these plates, and then let them grow in these plates for a few months or whenever they tell me they're ready. So this is a pretty early replate. I actually just replated these, well, this was a month ago. I replated these. This is a nodosa cross from Jim. So Jim, if you're watching, your seedlings are doing pretty well. And I've got a lot of plates of this. This is going to be a pretty cool hybrid. Anyway, so these have been about a month. I'll show you the image of these in the hood, as I'll take the lid off and show you a close-up image. I don't think you're going to be able to, too much glare and condensation. But I'll show you what the contents of this plate looks like in the hood after I take the cover off. But what's happening here is that after a month, these things, they got a lot bigger, and they're starting to put out some roots. And this is, again, they're not hitting the top of the plate. They're pretty small. There's not much going on here. But this is the next stage, where the first replate, where I make a 5x5 grid of these seedlings on the first replate medium. It's the same as I use one replate medium. Okay, after a few more months, and this takes a little bit longer, and so these are, I got to see what these are. These are 2 different crosses that I made, Cattleya crosses that I made. And what happens over, and I got to see how old, these were transferred about 2 months ago, and this one was transferred 3 months ago. All right, so the ones that are 3 months, these are 3 months, and these are a little bit bigger than these. But what's happening with these is and it's still the 5x5 grid, and they get big, and they're starting to hit the top of the dish. But what I do is I wait, and these aren't quite ready yet, so I'm going to show you this. And these, too much glaring here. So what I do is I wait for the roots till you can see the roots on the bottom of the dish, and these aren't quite ready yet. I'll wait until they form a nice network on the bottom of this dish, and there's still medium in there, but I wait till they grow a little bit more till the plates are pretty full. And I looked around, and these are the closest that I had. I've been doing a lot of second replating. So anyway, I take the content of these dishes, and what I will do is open up the dish, and the roots are up on the side of this petri dish, which is this flask, and I will actually dislodge the roots because they're sticking to the plastic on here. And again, I'll wait for these to get a little bit bigger until there's a mat. And the reason I like there to be a mat is because what I do is I reach in there, I dislodge all the roots from sticking to the outside of this petri dish, and then I reach in there with a forceps and I grab this whole thing as a mass. I will pull them out and put them into a larger flask right here. All right, so these aren't quite ready. Maybe another 2 to 4 weeks at the most for these guys, and then I will again drag them out and place them in this. It's the same medium, but this is my final flasking, and this was done, I got to look at this. This was done a month ago. So these were some larger. It's a new one of my new Cattleya hybrids, a different one from everything that we've looked at. I got too much stuff going on here. Anyway, so these are, you may be able to see what's in here, but these are just starting to catch. It's only been a month. The roots, I don't know if you can see down here, the roots are just starting to grow into the medium. The plants are still pretty small. They're not big yet, but they're growing. There's a lot of medium left here, so they'll grow, and they'll, with this cross, one parent's big and the other's not that big. So I imagine they'll either fill the flask or get close to it. But this was only a month ago, and the roots are just starting to grow in the medium. So there's a lot of growth left, and you can see I pour a lot of medium in here, so there's going to be a lot more growth. Okay, so moving on here, and I should say that for the most part, the process from seed plating, seed flasking, the initial flasking, to what's right here, and these are 3 flasks that are ready to be deflasked. But that process is anywhere from 7 to 12 months. I try to, most of them I think is about 9 months from initial seed plating to big plants in flasks. Some of them are quicker, some of them are slower, and these are really overdue. But let me show you so these are full. All of these are overdue, and the reason I say that is because if you look at the bottom of this flask, this is just there's just a root mass. So these are certipodiums, and these are they're loaded. I pulled this out. There still is medium left in this flask, but look at that. The plants are high. They're hitting the top of the container here. I mean, look at that amount. Maybe you can't see it because of the glare, but there's a certipodium, and there's a lot there. This is grammatophyllum, and I don't know if you can tell, but that's just the bottom on this one. Again, this is just a root. It's a root mass, and these were placed in here 2 months ago. And again, so sometimes these things grow really, really quickly. So 2 months ago, they were placed in there, and these grammatophyllum are big, and they get these massive root systems. That's what they did. All right, and then this is one of my new hybrids, and the thing is that if you look at this has, I mean, that's just solid roots. There's not much media left here, and it's the same amount of media as what I had in my other flasks, but it just the amount of growth on these roots, and I got there's another one. It's the same hybrid. These have been in here for a while, so these have been in here for 5 months, and I should have, and they're way past deflasking, but I got a lot of these. I just need to make more. This is a hybrid that is going to be intermediate size. It's a Cattleya hybrid that I made, one of my new hybrids, and this is probably going to be intermediate size. You can tell it's not filling the flask, but the roots. There's nothing left for the roots to survive. These I got more of them over here. I need to get these guys deflasked. I did one container, but and these guys, they do well too. Anyway, but I've got these ready to go. So I just wanted to again share with you the process of the initial seed flasking through some of the early embryo development and growth, through early seedling and then late seedling, and to the point where these are ready or over ready to be deflasked. And I wanted to share with you the overall process because I got a lot here, and I've got all the different stages that I wanted to share with you. Okay, that's all I have for today. I hope you enjoyed my video. I hope you learned a little bit about seed plating in orchids and seedling development. And again, the main point is I don't want to give you the false impression that everything works great all the time. I showed you a lot of my seeds where you wait all this time and you get nothing, or you plate a ton of seeds and you hardly get any successful seedling development. It doesn't work great all the time. You don't always get a lawn of beautiful seedlings that are developing. You have to understand that and accept that, and take with. I'm happy with every seedling that I get, but I want more. All right, I'm sorry. That's all I have for today. Again, I hope you enjoyed my video. If you want to see something else in the laboratory, let me know. I'd be happy to share other things with you. If you have any comments, put those in the comments section, and I'll try to share more information, or I'll try to improve or do what needs to be done. All right, that's all I have for today. Again, I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, it would help me out if you could click on like, share, and subscribe to my channel if you're not already a subscriber. All right, that's all I have for today. Again, for the last time, I hope you enjoyed it, and happy propagating.